Hey everybody, Jochen Heiden here. I just want to tune in and give you guys an update on how things are going for this play by email I've got going on. So basically, right now, I'd say I'm about 20% done setting up my turn. And I know that sounds kind of bad, and it is, but hear me out. Um, there's a lot going on for the Allied side, and I have only played Japan to date. So I am still trying to wrap my mind around everything that's going on right now. So basically, what I've set up to date is Australia, a little bit of Papua, uh, Celebes, all of Borneo, a little bit of Malaya, a lot of these loose submarines and surface task force that are floating around out here, most all of Burma, Ceylon, and some of the loose task forces that we start the game with. Um, I've got a lot more to go. And because I don't know the Allied side right now, I've been using a little something that a lot of you OG players may roll your eyes at if I explain it to you. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you kind of what I'm doing to set up my turn. So, because I'm new, I am using this. This is a spreadsheet made by a forum user at the Matrix forums called Kull. And he set up this spreadsheet, which basically is designed for you playing against the AI and how to set up your allied side on your turn one or turn two in my case, so that you have a starting point to get your campaign going. Now, again, I know a lot of you experts at this game are going to be rolling your eyes at me for even thinking about using this thing, but hear me out. I know this is for playing against the AI. Lodrik is not the AI. He already came out of the gate with a very custom setup that is not entirely historical, which is fine because we agreed to that. So this spreadsheet, if I follow it to the letter, is not going to help me out because it's going to have me set up my stuff as if I was fighting against a scripted AI, and I know I'm not. But what this thing does help me figure out is all the stuff that's on the map. It helps me focus my attention on where everything's at, what everything is, and it gives me a framework on how to start my turn. Again, I know this is not something that I can follow to the letter because it won't mesh well with what Lodrik is doing, but it helps me kind of get a picture of what I got to start with, and then I can look at the suggestions that Cole makes on the spreadsheet and decide if, yeah, hey, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that too because it will work for what's going on right now, or well, it's a good idea in theory, but I'm going to adjust it for the current situation. Or option three is this is a terrible idea. This is not applicable. I don't need to do this. So I've come up with a color coding system for the spreadsheet to help me figure out where I'm at. So basically, I sort through on the comments and I pick um, stuff that I actually want to see in a spreadsheet listed. If it says, for example, no action, I usually take that out of the sort because it's probably not a unit that needs to be moved anyway. Or if it says like garrison unit, I'll probably unsort that so I don't have to see every single line of data that's on this spreadsheet right now. Else I'll be here all year. There's 4,600 lines that Cole put on this spreadsheet. And if I go line by line by line, I'll never be done. So I just sort the stuff that's relevant to me. And then I have a color coding method on a spreadsheet to help me keep track of where I'm at. If I color this green, that means I've reviewed the line and I've made a decision and I've taken an action on the map, and that action can be considered done. I don't need it anymore. If I do a yellow line, that means I've initiated an action, but there are follow-on actions that need to occur after this that I need to follow up on. So come turn three, I'm going to start going down the spreadsheet. If it's green, I'm going to skip it. If it's yellow, I'm going to look at what it is that I'm moving or what it is I've commanded and follow up on it to see if there's an additional move that needs to happen as part of a multi or a complex kind of movement for a unit or a ship or aircraft squadron. If I coded it light green, that means this is something that has long-term implications that I need to watch over time. For example, this training unit, this P36 unit, it's training, 100% escort. I went through here, looked at the unit, and determined, yeah, you know what? That's a good use for that unit. I don't need it on the front lines. I'm going to leave it there in Anchorage and let it train. But over time, I want to occasionally come peek back at the unit and see how the pilots are progressing in the training. I don't want to forget about it entirely. In this spreadsheet, at least for the first couple months of the war, I'm going to be referencing back to it just so I can keep track of what it is that I've got on a map and what it is that I'm doing. And I added this column here and I put comments. So these are comments that I'll write for myself if what I'm doing drastically differs from what the spreadsheet has me doing. Let me see if I can find some comments, right? For example, this thing here that I'm doing, I put a comment in and I waited for a task force to come pick it up. All right. So those are the three main color codes that I use on Kull's spreadsheet to help me keep track of what I'm doing. So this normal green for a complied with task, light green for something I need to watch long term, and yellow is for an action that requires multiple turns to complete and may have different parts to it. So I'm using this spreadsheet to help guide me through my first turn with the understanding that I need to look at every line and determine if it's applicable to a play-by-email campaign or if it's not. And I kind of use this bar over here as my yardstick for how far I am on my total setup, because this spreadsheet goes from Africa to all the way down here to islands out in the Pacific. It covers every single counter on the map, every base, every ship, every land combat unit that exists. Kull put every single thing on here. So basically, if I run this thing down to here, that lets me know where I'm at in my setup overall. And if you look at this, I'd say that's about 20% of a total 100% of movement, right? So I'm using the spreadsheet to kind of guide my ideas so I don't forget anything, because there's just too much on here for me to keep track of, for me to remember, especially because I've never played for the Allies before. If we were doing another play-by-email campaign and I was going to play as Japanese, since I've already played a AI campaign as Japanese, I know the disposition of their forces, I know where the ships are, I know how the industry works now, so I wouldn't really need a spreadsheet like this to get moving, because I have an idea of where everything's at and what I want to do. With the Allies, I don't know. This is my first time playing Allies, so I'm using this. Please don't laugh. I know it's for AI, but this helps me guide my thoughts so I don't lose track of where I'm at in my setup, what all there is on this map for me to even look at. So yeah, so that's basically where I'm at in my campaign setup right now. I'm going to keep chugging along here. I'm going to start addressing China next. I'm just following along on the spreadsheet so I keep track of everything, so I do it in some sort of order. So I'll be looking at China next, and this looks like a big mess. And I have a feeling that my setup is going to differ very greatly from what Kull's spreadsheet is, because again, his spreadsheet is set up for playing against the AI, which I think is a lot more passive and does things a lot differently than the way I know Lodrik does stuff. So I will just basically be using the spreadsheet for me to keep track of every unit that's on the map so I don't forget about it, so I know that I've addressed it in some way, shape, or form. One more thing I want to show you is an example of how I use a spreadsheet for like a Hong Kong setup, right? So if I go to the spreadsheet, I scroll down here, I'm going to look for Hong Kong. Here we go. On this line here, it addresses this walrus unit, right? It says he recommends a naval search altitude 8,000, 50% total search for this unit, Hong Kong Flight FAA. I'll look at that and go, all right, that makes sense. I'm going to highlight that as light green because it's got a suggestion that maybe I want to move this unit out of here when the Japanese hop in Hong Kong. So this is something that may take quite a few turns to occur. But more or less, I like what he's suggesting. So I'm going to go into here. I'll go to the Hong Kong flight. I'll set it up for naval search. I'm not going to bother with the search arcs for now. He recommends 8,000 feet. It sounds good. So basically, this counter is set up, and I go back to my spreadsheet and make an adjustment. Now, if you look here, I'm just going to skip down a little bit. We have all these motor torpedo boats, right? Kull suggests that we send these to EBA and then over to Singapore. And I have a different opinion. I personally think these motor torpedo boats are useless. They're nothing but cannon fodder for Japanese destroyers, aircraft. I've rarely seen them being effective in the game to date. You may disagree. I just think they're just points pinatas for Lodrik to up his ship kill count, and I'm not interested in giving him those kills. So unlike what the spreadsheet says, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select that motor torpedo boat unit. I'm going to disband it. Then I'm going to go in here and return the type to the pool. And now I've taken all these motor torpedo boats off the map. So now they're not going to be in play in the harbor. But now Lodrik ain't going to be able to kill them. They're not going to be in port. They're not going to be at sea. They're back in my pool. They're ships that he can't take away from me and kill. And, I save myself however many points he gets from killing those things. I just don't see them being effective against large surface combatants if he comes into the port with something like that. Now, what I'll do on the spreadsheet now, since I've deviated from what Kull says, I'll highlight all these lines here. And since these ships are no longer in play and they're not going to be in play, I'm going to code this like a red color so that I know these are no longer in play. They're dead. They're off the map. They're not something that I can use. And when I scroll through the spreadsheet in a week or two from now and I get down there, I'll be like, oh, don't worry about those. They're no longer in play. They're dead. They're not available. So that's just kind of me showing you how I'm not following this spreadsheet verbatim. I'm using it as a guide. So that's basically how I'm setting stuff up. Again, I have my own theories and ideas of how I want to do things differently than that. I will go over all of that stuff when my turn is complete. Just before I send this off to Lodrik, I'm going to do a quick roundup and go through all the major regions of this thing and show you what my intent is for each thing. Like in Burma, I'll explain what my strategy is going to be. In China, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. In the Philippines, I'll explain what my strategy is. I'm not going to bore you guys with 18 hours of me setting up this map and clicking on every little unit and clicking the thing and setting the move orders. You guys don't want to see that. That's fine. I'll just give you the big roundup of what the big picture is just before I send this off to Lodrik. And then once I get this off to him, we're going to be cooking with gas. This thing's going to be going fast because all the grunt work of me setting up the turn will be done. So we can just get going, get turns, and I just have to react to what's going on. And then once we get through the first month or two of the war and things are kind of finding a rhythm, that's when we'll kick up the turns from 1 day to 2 day turns when we don't need to sit here and babysit every single day's turn. So that's where I'm at with my setup. I hope you like seeing the spreadsheet. I apologize if this looks a little more pixelated than normal. I run a 4K monitor. I do everything in 4K, but I record in 1080p. So it's taking a 4K thing and kind of spreading it out, but I wanted to be able to do a full screen capture so I could bounce back and forth between the spreadsheet and the game and show you what I'm doing. And also, I usually run stuff on a second monitor off to my right, and it's just the way I have my recording stuff, it doesn't work out. Anyway, that's my setup. I'll keep chugging along. For those of you who aren't on my Discord, I highly recommend you come on over because I post a lot more updates on where things are at. I've got all my tutorial videos posted there. There's a bunch of people who are from the forums that are on my Discord and we talk about stuff. So if you want more day-to-day updates on how we're doing with this thing, please come over to my Discord. The link is in the video description. I'll also link the forum post for Kull's spreadsheet so you can use this too if you've never heard of this. If you want to try it out, take a look at it. This guy's amazing. He put probably hundreds of hours of work into this thing, and you should take a look at it, and maybe it's something you can use for your campaign. So That's basically all I got right now, and I'll keep you guys informed of how we're doing with this thing, and we'll get going soon enough. All right, everybody, take care.